The story shifts to Jin Woo oversleeping and being jolted awake by a call from Gina. Noticing his groggy voice, she instantly realizes he's still in bed and demands if he even knows what time it is. Checking the clock, Jin Woo sees it's already past 2 in the afternoon. Gina quickly reminds him about her parent-teacher meeting, prompting him to hurry. Later, Jin Woo arrives at the meeting, looking surprisingly well-dressed. Gina is caught off guard by how sharp he appears, making Jin Woo wonder if something is wrong. She reassures him that it's just unexpected, and he casually explains that showing up in casual wear wouldn't have been appropriate. Gina muses about how much people can change. As they walk through the school hallways, Jin Woo catches the attention of several girls, who whisper curiously about him. Gina, noticing this, teases him about still being single and offers to set him up with someone, but he brushes off the idea. During the meeting, Gina's teacher praises her, describing her as a model student with excellent academic performance, especially in mock exams. Confident that Gina could secure a place in medical school, the teacher advises Jin Woo not to pressure her too much. He agrees. Before concluding the meeting, the teacher brings up an interesting question: what would he do if Gina awakened as a hunter? Without hesitation, Jin Woo firmly states he wouldn't allow it. The teacher had expected this answer, but hints that she has a request. The scene shifts to Jin Woo meeting Sai, who is surprised to see him. He reveals that he is Gina's brother, and Sai quickly realizes that the teacher must have sent him to convince her to quit being a hunter. Sai refuses outright, stating that she has no intention of quitting or returning to school. Jin Woo points out that as an E-rank hunter, her opportunities to earn money are limited. While she may have made good money in the past, that was an exception. Frustrated, Sai tells him to leave if he's only here to lecture her, even throwing his rank in his face, reminding him that he's also just an E-rank. Jin Woo, unfazed, calmly states that he's not here to lecture her or change her mind, he has a different reason for coming. Elsewhere, Jinil personally greets Dong-soo upon his arrival in Japan, catching him off guard with such a direct reception. Dong-soo sarcastically remarks on how the head of the Hunter Association himself has come to welcome him. Jinil, however, wastes no time and bluntly asks how long Dong-soo plans to stay. Dong-soo reassures him not to worry, claiming he won't be around for long. But Jinil remains skeptical, pointing out that Dong-soo has returned to the very country he once betrayed, supposedly just to meet 2 specific people. Dong-soo smirks, making it clear that Jinil knows the truth, his visit isn't just for a casual meeting. He coldly suggests that the surveillance team should turn a blind eye to what's about to happen, revealing his intent to eliminate Jin Woo first, then Leo. Confident in his strength, he mocks Jinil, claiming his abilities won't be enough to stop him. But Jinil, unfazed, simply responds that he is only doing his duty. In another location, creatures are being unloaded from a helicopter that Guildmaster Choi and his team brought back from Jojo Island. Choi briefs the Hunter Association chairman about the situation, explaining how these creatures have repeatedly attempted to cross the sea but failed due to their inability to sustain flight. He warns that if left unchecked, they might eventually succeed, prompting Ji to assure him that every measure will be taken to prevent that outcome. Meanwhile, Jin Woo meets up with Sang, who is surprised by the unexpected call and remarks on how rare it is to hear from him. Noticing Song Ying with Jin Woo, Sang listens as Jin Woo apologizes for the sudden request. However, Sang assures him it's not an issue, though he's curious about Jin Woo's interest in their training. Sang gestures toward a nearby gate, explaining that it's a high-level SE gate that recently appeared. As they discuss, an impatient man grumbles about wasting time, insisting they should start the raid instead of standing around. Jin Woo glances at him, and Sang introduces him as Kim Chal, an A-rank hunter serving as a tanker. It's clear that Kim Chal isn't pleased about lower-ranked hunters observing his raid. His frustration is evident, and Sang attempts to smooth things over by explaining the team composition to Jin Woo. The raid group consists of 1 A-rank hunter, 5 B ranks, making up a total of 10 members, including Jin Woo and Song Ying. Jin Woo isn't thrilled about the large team, as his main goal was to show SMIA the brutal reality of dungeon raids. With so many people, the experience might not have the same impact. Sang's assistant advises Jin Woo to stay on the sidelines and let the newer members gain hands-on experience, to which Jin Woo agrees. As the team enters the gate, Jin Woo immediately senses something is off. He notices the gate behind them behaving strangely as it starts to glow red. Realizing the situation, he quickly attempts to escape, managing to squeeze his head out just in time to warn Sang to contact the assault team. However, the gate forcefully pulls him back inside before he can fully get out. Alarmed, Sang swiftly contacts Beck, informing him of the red gate, and Beck immediately moves to assist. Inside, Jin Woo and the group find themselves in an endless snowy landscape. To their shock, the gate has completely vanished, causing panic as they wonder how to escape. Kim Chal steps forward, explaining that they are trapped inside a red gate. A confused SMIA asks what that means, prompting Jin Woo to clarify that unlike normal gates, red gates cut off all contact with the outside world upon entry. The only way out is to defeat the boss or wait for the dungeon to collapse, as external interference is impossible. He also warns that the area will be crawling with dangerous magical creatures. Suddenly, a barrage of arrows rains down on them. One hunter is struck and killed instantly, but Jin Woo reacts swiftly, catching a second arrow aimed at SMIA and shielding her. She is stunned by his speed, and the team realizes they are surrounded by ice elves. Jin Woo quickly notes that the elves remained undetected due to their distance and had targeted the group's weakest members. He acknowledges that if this had happened 2 months ago, he wouldn't have survived. Before they can react further, the ice elves retreat, leaving SMA bewildered. Jainu explains that ice elves are relentless hunters, feared for their brutal efficiency and known among other hunters as ice slayers. Kim Cho then asserts control over the group, making it clear that no outside help will arrive. He demands that everyone follow his orders if they want to survive. Acknowledging that he can't manage the entire group alone, he suggests splitting into 2 teams, believing it will improve their survival odds. He warns that staying in one spot risks freezing to death and insists that those who go with him will be safe. Most of the group agrees to follow Kim Cho, but he immediately singles out the weaker members, refusing to take them. He justifies this by claiming their presence would slow everyone down. He then explains that time in this dungeon moves differently, 1 day here equals an hour outside, and that it could take months to either defeat the boss or wait for the dungeon to collapse. He labels those he's leaving behind as dead weight, but promises to return for them once the boss is dealt with. One girl, however, decides to stay with Jainu instead. Kim Cho considers this a foolish decision, but she is convinced he overlooked an earlier event. She quietly whispers to Jainu, noting that she saw his reflexes in action before and suspects he is much stronger than he appears, perhaps even a rank or more above what he claims. Jainu neither confirms nor denies her suspicion. Kim Cho confidently takes the main road, assuming it is the best path. Meanwhile, Jainu leads his team through the forest. After some time, Kim Cho's group notices deep claw marks on the trees. Recognizing the signs, he declares they have entered ice bear territory and smugly comments that the weaker team won't last long. Soon after, they sense danger. Ice bears are nearby. The group quickly finds themselves surrounded. One of the massive creatures charges at them, but Kim Cho blocks the attack with his shield before slicing the bear in half with his axe. Without hesitation, he moves to engage the other 2 bears, his confidence unwavering. Meanwhile, Jainu's group also encounters similar claw marks. The girl warns that they are in ice bear territory and suggests turning back to avoid a confrontation. However, Jainu disagrees, suggesting instead that they move further in. He explains that since ice bears dominate this area, they won't have to worry about stronger predators, such as the elves waiting outside. After considering his logic, the girl realizes he's right. No other creatures would dare enter ice bear territory. As they move forward, the air grows colder. Jainu pulls coats from his inventory using subspace magic and hands them out to the group. They are astonished by his ability and gratefully put on the warm clothing. Still curious, the girl asks who he really is. Jainu avoids answering directly, instead reminding her that he brought her here, so it's his duty to protect her. However, he requests that they refrain from further questions. Just then, a massive ice bear emerges from the shadows. Without hesitation, Jainu steps forward, changes his title to Wolf Assassin, and prepares for battle. Meanwhile, outside the gate, Bake observes the eerie red glow, instantly recognizing it as a dangerous anomaly. He doubts that anyone aside from high-ranking hunters could endure its perils. Placing his hopes on Kim Cho, he believes that a strong enough leader might give the team a fighting chance. However, Sag informs him that besides the official assault squad, others have also ventured inside, including Jinwoo. Intrigued, Bake asks about Jinwoo's rank, and Sang responds that he is officially classified as an E rank, though there are suspicions that he may have undergone a reawakening, though he himself has never confirmed it. Despite this, Bake remains doubtful about Jinwoo's survival prospects. Just then, Donggu arrives with Gel, and Bake is visibly displeased by his presence, questioning why he is here instead of in America. Ignoring the question, Donggu instead challenges Bake, demanding an explanation as to why a low-ranked hunter, who isn't even affiliated with their guild, was allowed entry. It's clear that he's referring to Jinwoo, leaving Bake puzzled about how Donggu even knows of him. Donggu scoffs at the red gate, believing that Jinwoo will likely perish before he gets a chance to meet him. Jinul, observing Donggu's frustration, notes that Jinwoo is lucky to be inside the gate, avoiding an immediate confrontation. However, he still doubts Jinwoo's ability to make it out alive. Inside the gate, Jinwoo slaughters the last of the ice bears, earning yet another level up. His team and the girl watch in stunned silence, questioning his true identity, though he remains tight-lipped. Later, as they gather to eat roasted bear meat, everyone is astonished at how effortlessly he took down so many monsters on his own. However, the girl warns them not to relax just yet, suspecting that the creature's lair must be close. Meanwhile, S is perplexed by Jinwoo's behavior, wondering why he would choose to train after an exhausting battle. As she voices her thoughts, the others agree that he is unlike anyone they've met. Elsewhere, Jinwoo stands at the entrance of the ice bear's lair, eager to test his shadow army. He summons them, watching as they charge forward. The shadows cut down the beasts with ease, though some of the monsters retaliate fiercely, tearing through portions of the army. However, the shadows regenerate quickly, drawing on Jinwoo's mana, and return to battle. The mags in his ranks provide powerful support, exceeding his expectations, but he notes that maintaining them consumes a considerable amount of energy. Suddenly, the massive leader of the ice bears emerges. With a single devastating blow, it obliterates his entire shadow army, draining a significant amount of his mana in the process. Unable to restore his fallen soldiers, Jin Woo summons Igris. The Shadow Knight steps forward confidently, unfazed as the bear charges. With swift movements, Igris dodges and delivers a clean, precise slash. The beast tries one last desperate attack, but Igris swiftly beheads it. Watching the battle unfold, Jin Woo is impressed by Igris' power, recalling their previous duel. He acknowledges that if Igris had used his sword back then, he wouldn't have stood a chance. Even now, despite his current strength, he suspects Igris may still be superior. Praising him for his skill, Jin Woo is eager to see how much stronger they can become together. Meanwhile, Kim Chul's party faces an overwhelming attack from the elves. His entire team is wiped out, leaving him alone in sheer disbelief. Just moments ago, he had been on the verge of rising to an elite position within the White Tiger Guild, only to now find himself in a nightmare. The cold, merciless gazes of the elves and the sight of the last remaining survivors being cut down fill him with terror. Realizing that there's no chance of victory, he turns and flees as fast as his legs can carry him. Jin Woo stands triumphant over the defeated Death Bears, demonstrating his overwhelming power as a necromancer. With a simple command, the fallen beasts rise as shadow bears, seamlessly joining his expanding shadow army. Outside the portal, Sang explains that the strike force has been trapped for 3 hours, equivalent to 3 days, due to the portal's distorted time. Given the dangers of red gates, Donggu assumes Jin Woo is already dead and prepares to leave. However, he abruptly stops, demanding to know why Jin Woo was involved with the White Tiger Guild in the first place. Sang casually replies that Jin Woo is merely an observer accompanying them on a C-rank mission. While Sang believes this explanation should suffice, Donggu shocks everyone by suddenly grabbing him by the throat. Donggu isn't fooled, he knows Sang has a keen eye for identifying potential new talents among hunters. At that moment, Beck steps forward, transforming as he commands Donggu to stop. Instead of backing down, Donggu grows more enraged, dismissing Beck as nothing more than a big fish in a small pond. The two elite hunters then unleash their power, sending shockwaves of terror through those around them. Sang grows increasingly worried, fearing an all-out S-rank battle could devastate the entire area. Despite the concern, tensions boil over, and the two hunters finally clash. Inside the portal, Kim Cha breathes a sigh of relief after escaping from the elves, only for that relief to turn into horror when he stumbles upon the mangled corpses of the Death Bears. The gruesome sight terrifies him, and he struggles to comprehend how the lower-ranked hunters he abandoned could be responsible for such destruction. His mind races, suspecting that the ice layers might be the true culprits, prompting him to flee deeper into the forest. Outside the gate, Donggu is momentarily impressed when Jinul intervenes, successfully preventing the S-rank battle from escalating. So Guile humbly admits that the only reason his arms remain intact is that the two S-rank hunters restrained themselves at the last second. Jinul reassures Donggu that Jin Mu is nothing more than an E-rank hunter, explaining that his evaluation 2 months ago found no reason to think otherwise. Additionally, Jinul states that the investigation into Donggu's brother's death revealed that a magic beast was responsible. However, Donggu dismisses this as a convenient cover-up, convinced that if Jin Mu isn't the killer, then the true culprit must be the wealthy Leo. Jinul questions why Donggu is targeting Jin Mu if he believes him to be innocent, but Donggu's response is chilling. He doesn't need a reason. It's just an excuse. An excuse to kill. Before the conversation can continue, Donggu is called away, muttering that Jin Mu is fortunate. Sang watches him leave, reflecting on how no one truly understands the depth of Jin Mu's power the way he does. Despite the dangers of the Red Gate, Sang remains confident Jin Mu will survive. Inside the portal, Jin Mu's group gathers around a fire, attempting to stay warm. However, their brief moment of peace is interrupted when Kim Cole storms in, furious at the sight of these so-called weaklings alive and thriving. Clad in weather gear, surrounded by blankets and food, they are in significantly better condition than his own team. Consumed by anger, Kim Cole accuses them of hoarding supplies, blaming them for his comrades' deaths due to their lack of proper equipment. Enraged, he demands to know who has been keeping the gear hidden, his suspicion falling on Park, believing she sided with a weaker group because she knew the truth. As tension escalates, a countdown begins, warning that if the culprit doesn't confess, they will all be eliminated. When silence persists, the accuser furiously calls out a name, assuming guilt and preparing to strike. However, before action is taken, Jin Woo suddenly materializes, effortlessly overpowering the attacker. The group is left in shock at their leader's unexpected return, while Jin Woo reprimands the accuser for carelessly blaming others for their failure. Yet, he senses an even greater danger lurking nearby and accuses the accuser of attracting something far worse. Surveying his surroundings, Jin Woo speaks toward the unseen force, declaring that their presence is far too powerful to remain hidden. He commands them to reveal themselves, prompting the Ice Elves to emerge. Their leader scoffs, remarking that one among the humans possesses surprising strength. Jin Woo retorts in fluent beast tongue, though he himself is momentarily taken aback, deducing that his unique abilities must be responsible. The elven leader explains their intrusion, revealing that one of their own detected Jin Woo's immense power when he deflected an arrow and sought to challenge him. However, before the challenger can even react, Jin Woo decisively beheads him. Rather than being alarmed, the leader finds amusement in such ruthlessness, yet Jinwoo remains indifferent, launching an immediate attack. The leader skillfully defends himself, making Jinwoo realize that this opponent won't be easy to defeat. Intrigued, the elf remarks that Jinwoo doesn't seem human and questions why he's pretending to be one. Confused, Jinwoo hesitates, but the leader's laughter makes it clear that he knows something unknown to Jinwoo. The elf explains that his kind are driven by an instinctive voice compelling them to exterminate humans, yet for some reason, they hear nothing when it comes to Jinwoo. This revelation sparks suspicion in Jinwoo. Could this be tied to his abilities? The leader speculates that Jinwoo may not be entirely human and urges him to surrender the others. However, Jinwoo demands to know why the elves are hunting humans at all. As the leader begins to answer, something unnatural happens, his words glitch, repeating as if trapped in a loop. Despite this, Jinwoo remains defiant. The leader warns that opposing them will make him an enemy, boasting of their overwhelming numbers. But Jinwoo remains undeterred, questioning the elf's confidence. Without hesitation, he summons his shadow army, leaving the onlookers in disbelief. The elf leader dismisses the display as futile, yet Jinwoo pays no heed, pressing forward for battle. The leader obliges, and the conflict erupts into a fierce struggle. As the humans attempt to escape, elven archers take aim, but Jinwoo swiftly eliminates them, demonstrating his overwhelming strength. However, despite his dominance, he begins to grasp the leader's confidence. The elves are far stronger than anticipated, inflicting significant damage. Though Jinwoo's shadow army is technically immortal, regenerating his forces consumes magic power. Fortunately, his reserves are vast, though not infinite. As the battle rages on, he realizes that his energy isn't limitless, and worse, he acknowledges that the opposing leader is undeniably stronger. The enemy leader engages Jinwoo directly, forcing him to assess the situation. Even with his ally fighting beside him, the opponent's power remains overwhelming. The odds are stacked against him, and his ordinary forces won't be enough. Jinwoo quickly determines that he needs a stronger force to stand a chance. The leader then formally introduces himself as Bara, and Jinwoo responds in kind. Without hesitation, the two warriors clash with incredible force. Bara asserts his dominance immediately, but he is briefly thrown off when Jinwoo shifts his weapon to his other hand mid-attack. Their intense exchange continues, both narrowly avoiding fatal blows, but Jinwoo eventually gets forced onto the defensive. Bara grins, expressing his excitement at finally facing a worthy opponent after so long. Jinwoo, smirking in return, summons a colossal meteor, sending it crashing down upon Bara, catching him off guard. Meanwhile, Kim Cheol regains consciousness, his fury boiling over. Seething with rage, he clenches his sword, vowing vengeance. As Bara fends off Jinwoo's summoned warriors, Kim Cheol seizes the chaos to launch his attack. However, Jinwoo, having anticipated this, commands Igris to cast a dense smoke screen. Using the cover, Baru swiftly eliminates Kim Cheol before he even realizes the trap. With his last breath, Kim Cheol is consumed by regret. Following his defeat, Jinwoo commands him to rise once more. A bright glow engulfs his body as he is reborn into the ranks of Jinwoo's shadow army. Still engaged in battle, Bara scoffs at the notion of hiding, but his confidence wavers when a massive new shadow soldier emerges, forcing him to retreat momentarily. Jinwoo then names his newest soldier Iron, and the resurrected Kim Cheol releases a bone-chilling roar. Bara quickly evaluates Iron's abilities, realizing that while his agility is lacking, his durability is immense. Nearby, spectators watch in shock, with one wondering if all battles between powerful hunters are this intense. Her allies reassure her that this fight far surpasses anything they have ever witnessed. As Iron holds his ground, Bara grows impatient and demands that both Jinwoo and Igris join the fray. Jinwoo smirks and accepts the challenge, setting off an intense 3-on-1 battle. Bara's overwhelming power is fully displayed as he fends off Jinwoo, Igris, and Iron simultaneously. However, irritation flickers in his expression as Iron's unrelenting battle cries fill the air. Determined to silence him, Bara shifts focus, but Iron withstands every attack, refusing to fall. Bara's confidence grows as he skillfully evades Igris' strikes, until Jinwoo unexpectedly lands a precise stab. Bara, despite the chaos, avoids a fatal injury, impressing Jinwoo. Annoyed at being underestimated, Bara pushes forward, but Jinwoo acknowledges his tenacity. As the clash intensifies, Jinwoo takes a brief moment to glance at the battlefield beyond. Bara, suddenly remembering his army, turns, only to be met with a horrifying sight. Jinwoo's shadow army has annihilated his entire force. Despite the grim reality, believing that taking down Jinwoo will be enough to change the tide of battle. As Jinwoo hurls a dagger, Bara mocks him for discarding his weapon so carelessly. However, he underestimates Jinwoo's control. Jinwoo recalls the dagger midair with perfect precision. Bara barely blocks in time, but his weapon is destroyed in the process. Jinwoo seizes the opportunity, commanding Iron to pin down Bara. Immobilized, Bara becomes the target of an enormous fire attack, unleashed by Jinwoo's magic soldiers. Yet, even after the devastating strike, Bara refuses to fall. He slices through metal and barriers with relentless force, determined to erase the humans, but Jinwoo intercepts, putting an end to his rampage. Declaring the battle over, Jinwoo faces defiance as Bara insists the fight isn't finished until he decides. However, his resistance is futile. Iron regenerates and crushes him entirely, leaving no room for argument. With Barra lifeless at his feet, Jinwoo reaffirms the battle's conclusion. The ground rumbles, but it's merely Iron securing their triumph. Jinwoo reprimands him, urging restraint, silently hoping this doesn't become a habit. A wave of relief washes over the group as they process the victory, Jinwoo remaining composed as he signals their departure. Yet, before leaving, he casts one last glance at Barra's unmoving form. Outside the portal, Sang urges Beck to return home, reasoning that a week has passed and survival is unlikely. However, Beck refuses, unwilling to abandon his guildmates. Both men freeze as the portal unexpectedly opens. Confident, Beck assumes it must be Kim Chul emerging, believing in his guild member's success. But shock strikes as the figure stepping out isn't Kim Chul, it's Jinwoo, unharmed and standing victorious. The gate closes behind him, leaving Beck questioning Kim Chul's fate. When he learns that only a lower-ranked hunter survived, he's disturbed, his mind racing over what transpired. Seeking answers, Beck approaches Jinwoo, but exhaustion is evident in Jinwoo's demeanor as he directs Beck to inquire elsewhere. Taken aback, Beck interprets this as outright defiance. Shocked by Jinwoo's audacity, it wasn't a suggestion, but an order. The tension escalates as Beck asserts his duty to uncover what happened, given the 6 missing guild members. However, Jinwoo remains unmoved, pointing out that he was the one who saved the 2 survivors and deserves gratitude instead. Realizing the truth in Jinwoo's words, Beck reins in his frustration, offering an apology. With the situation diffused, Jinwoo departs with Sai. As he leaves, Beck turns to Park, questioning Jinwoo's uncharacteristically sharp attitude. Park explains that Jinwoo only changed after defeating the boss. Sang speculates it's exhaustion, insisting Jinwoo is usually kind. Intrigued, Beck instructs Sang to find a way to recruit him into their guild. Later, Jinwoo escorts Song-ai home, receiving her gratitude as she expresses her hope to see him again. Walking away, he reflects on the ordeal, disappointed that despite all the effort, less than a day had passed outside the gate. His only reward, a single dagger, felt underwhelming. He concludes that Barra must have been far too advanced to yield better loot. His thoughts drift back to his attempt at reviving Barra as an immortal soldier. Despite 3 tries, he failed, but he takes comfort in gaining iron. Yet, a darker realization lingers. This marks the 3rd time he has taken human lives. The next day, Jinwoo meets Leo, immediately taken aback by Leo's extravagant attire. Preparing for their mission, Jinwoo informs Leo they need to pick up someone first. That someone turns out to be S, much to Leo's surprise. Observing the casual rapport between Jinwoo and S, Leo grows suspicious. When Jinwoo nonchalantly asks Song-ai if she managed to rest, Leo misreads the exchange, growing wary of Jinwoo's true intentions. Leo reminds his companion that Sona is underage, but Jin brushes it off, completely unaware of Leo's misunderstanding, which only heightens Leo's concern. Sometime later, Leo watches in awe as Jin's warriors effortlessly wipe out a group of monstrous creatures. Leo has no clue where these powerful beings came from, prompting Jin to recall that Leo hasn't seen them before. Jin then explains that they're a manifestation of one of his formidable abilities. However, Leo struggles to comprehend that such overwhelming power is even possible. With the battle won, Jin commands his forces to start mining the area for valuable resources. Feeling useless compared to their efficiency, Leo pleads for a chance to at least gather the magic-infused gems. Jin, not one to hoard everything for himself, allows one of his warriors to share the task. Meanwhile, in another part of the world, a lone man stands amidst the wreckage of a destroyed vessel. A terrified soldier pleads for his life, but the man calmly reassures him. The issue is that they don't speak the same language. After switching to broken English, the man clarifies that he's human and only wishes to return home. Back with Jin, he and Leo celebrate the completion of the 19 raids they had agreed upon. Now that the raids are done, Leo's next step is to pass a written test at the association to earn his guildmaster's license. Once he has it, he'll finally have the leverage to negotiate with his father. As for Jin, he reveals that he plans to travel for a while. Leo assumes Jin is trying to get away from him, but Jin, a bit tipsy, denies it. However, Leo has always been accustomed to being cast aside, particularly by his older brother, who, being a decade older, never shared any real sibling moments with him. In contrast, Jin has supported Leo so much that Leo wistfully admits he wishes Jin were his brother instead. Moved by Leo's words, Jin pours 2 drinks and declares that from this moment on, he'll consider Leo his little brother. This unexpected moment leaves Leo stunned, but deeply touched. Meanwhile, the mysterious man from the shipwreck has been detained, and investigators are discussing his origins. He claims to be a foreign hunter who was trapped inside a dimensional rift for a decade and only recently found an exit, which led him to a gate in America. The investigators remain skeptical, worried he might be a humanoid magical creature. To verify his identity, they summon a high-ranking hunter for questioning. That hunter is none other than Donggu, and they're currently waiting for him to interrogate the man, whose only known detail is that his name is Illinois S. Later, Jin informs his sister Gina that he'll be away for a week. Knowing how busy he has been, she playfully asks who he'll be traveling with. Annoyed by the question, Jin flatly responds that he'll be going with a friend and leaves it at that. Not long after, he arrives at the entrance of the demon castle, reminiscing about how much he has grown since he barely survived his battle against Cerberus at level 20. But now, with his level tripled, he feels confident that this challenge will be different. Using a special key from his system, Jin unlocks the gate and enters the castle. Reviewing his quest objectives, he learns that his mission is to collect demon souls. However, Jin is stunned to find that the system requires a staggering 10,000 souls, an amount he can hardly believe exists within the dungeon. Despite the daunting task, Jin remains focused on his true goal, obtaining the ingredients for the elixir of life to heal someone dear to him. No matter how many demons stand in his way, Jin is determined to complete this mission at all costs. Elsewhere, Leo discusses the future of the guild with his father, Han. Aware that his older brother is also seeking leadership, Leo disagrees with his rival's approach. He argues that bringing in an outsider to oversee the guild is too much of a gamble. However, Han redirects the conversation to Jin Woo, criticizing Leo for associating with him. Han points out that Jin Woo was present at 3 major incidents: the disastrous double dungeon, the raid where an entire team perished, and the case involving the surveillance team and convicted criminals. Despite the high-risk nature of these events, Jin Woo somehow survived each one. Han also acknowledges that Jin Woo played a crucial role in helping Leo complete 19 raids to secure his guild master license and was instrumental in the Red Gate crisis, where he led survivors to safety. Han accuses Leo of gaining an unfair advantage by relying on Jin Woo's strength. Though Leo admits his tactics weren't conventional, he insists that his leadership is what the guild needs. To Leo's surprise, Han unexpectedly gives his approval for him to take over, on one condition. Han demands that Jin Woo be recruited into their guild. He reveals that the White Tiger Guild has been attempting to bring Jin Woo into their ranks since the Red Gate event, recognizing his extraordinary potential. If Leo truly wants to lead, Han challenges him to secure Jin Woo's loyalty first. Determined, Leo accepts the challenge, promising to make it happen. Meanwhile, inside the demon castle, Jin Woo reflects on his battles. Despite eliminating numerous demons, he finds himself unable to extract their shadows for his army and struggles to understand why. He has taken down a staggering number of foes, yet his efforts seem fruitless. Just then, he receives an entry permit for the next floor, and a glowing marker signals the way forward. Jin Woo marvels at the immense scale of the dungeon. It's practically an entire city encased within a single structure. The sheer amount of walking, however, is becoming exhausting. Fortunately, Jin Woo summons his bear-like beast to carry him, and the creature charges ahead, cutting down waves of demons with ease. Impressed by its raw power, Jin Woo decides to name the beast Tank. Elsewhere, a group of admirers watch Ha with awe, fascinated by her skills. She recalls a conversation with Mr. Choi regarding the flying ant reports. While she believed the information should be made public, Mr. Choi insisted that doing so would only create unnecessary panic. Instead, he advised that their guild focus on becoming stronger, as they already hold the position of the largest domestic organization, and power is essential for further expansion. Back in the dungeon, Jin Woo continues his relentless advance. When he first received the key to this place, he feared it might be an S-rank challenge, but so far, the demons he's encountered have been closer to high B rank. However, their numbers are overwhelming, and they grow stronger with each floor. By only defeating the necessary enemies to progress, Jin Woo maintains a steady pace. Based on his past experience with similar trials, he theorized that the castle likely consists of 100 floors, much like the Tower of Trials. He wonders just how powerful he will become by the time he reaches the top. As his soul count reaches 4,000, Jin Woo reminds himself to carefully monitor his supplies. He also recalls his promise to Gina to return within a week, turning this into a race against time. Eventually, after an intense series of battles, he gathers 10,000 souls, successfully completing the main requirement of the quest. However, his journey is far from over. As he advances, he comes across a group of formidable creatures, with the leader's name appearing in red text, signifying extreme danger. The monster, known as Vulcan, is the boss of the lower floors. Meanwhile, Sang searches for Jinwoo but finds out from Gina that her brother is supposedly on a trip. However, Sang isn't convinced. There's no record of him participating in a raid or leaving the country, and the last trace the association has of him is right in the heart of the city. With no solid clues, they can only speculate about his whereabouts. Inside the dungeon, Jinwoo announces that he'll personally handle the leader while instructing his forces to eliminate the remaining demons. His soldiers waste no time, swiftly wiping out the enemy horde. With more points allocated to his intellect stat, Jinwoo can now summon a larger army and sustain them more efficiently. His enhanced magical power also makes combat flow much more smoothly. Turning his focus to the boss-class enemy, he wonders if the massive creature is ever going to move. Assuming it's stationary, he is caught off guard when it suddenly lunges at him with alarming speed. Reacting instantly, Jinwoo dodges the attack and counters with a devastating punch that sends the colossal beast flying. Even he is surprised by his sheer strength, wondering if his power has increased without him realizing it. However, Vulcan isn't done yet. It unleashes a thunderous roar, seemingly preparing to shift into another form, reminding Jinwoo of his battle with Cerberus. The monster then charges at him with blinding speed, forcing Jinwoo to call for Iron, who promptly sends him a shield. He blocks the incoming assault, but the beast launches into a relentless barrage of attacks. Jinwoo is taken aback by how something so enormous can move with such agility. As the fight drags on, he spots an opening and maneuvers behind the beast, only to realize that it can predict his movements. Vulcan is a powerhouse, and the only apparent weak point is its relatively small head. Formulating a strategy to restrict its mobility, Jinwoo dashes toward a nearby structure. The beast, too focused on the chase, crashes straight into the building. Seizing the moment, Jinwoo summons his weapon and, with a single decisive slash, cleaves through Vulcan's neck, securing victory over the ruler of the lower floors. Jinwoo acquires an item known as the World Tree Fragment as his reward. Meanwhile, in another location, Elon is being questioned by Dangu, who has heard whispers suggesting that Elon might be a sentient magical creature. Elon dismisses the accusations, offering to undergo any form of testing, even DNA analysis, to confirm his humanity. Despite this, Dangu assumes the role of an interrogator, silencing Elon and forbidding him from speaking unless prompted. Frustrated that his enjoyment has been disrupted, Dangu reviews Elon's records. Elon then requests permission to speak, but Dangu snaps at him, demanding silence. Undeterred, Elon continues, questioning how much humanity truly understands about gates and magical creatures. Dangu remains clueless, prompting Elon to elaborate, revealing that dungeons, gates, and beasts are only a small glimpse of a much greater mystery. He warns that an immense force capable of unleashing catastrophe has already awakened. Elon then states that he cannot reveal more, but insists his only objective is to prevent the coming disaster. Dangu, dismissing Elon's ominous warnings, counters that the world has millions of hunters, and if they unite, they can handle any threat. However, Elon warns that sheer numbers will be meaningless against what is coming, as these hunters will not only be overwhelmed but also turned into weapons against humanity itself. Growing impatient, Dangu ridicules Elon's claims, shifting focus to his alleged history, specifically, how a so-called magical creature could have a wife and children. With a mocking smirk, Dangu asks Elon for his son's name, to which Elon responds, Jinwoo. Dangu's expression twists into amusement as he coldly informs Elon that his son is dead. Refusing to entertain further questions, he cruelly suggests that Elon can ask his son about it when they reunite in the afterlife. As Dangu asserts his authority, Elon's face darkens, his gaze burning with murderous intent. Deep within a dungeon, Jinwoo's army of shadow warriors annihilates yet another wave of demonic foes. Acknowledging the enemy commander, Jinwoo observes how one-sided the battle has become and wonders if the demon leader is experiencing fear. As Jinwoo watches, he realizes that even the undead can tremble in terror. In an instant, he vanishes from sight, only to reappear as the demon's severed head tumbles to the ground. A system message confirms his victory over Metis, the guider of souls, and notifies him of another level up. Beyond the dungeon, part of a city has been left in ruins following an immense battle. An investigator assesses the devastation, noting that when top-ranked hunters clash, their battles reshape entire landscapes, reducing everything to rubble. He acknowledges their fortune that the destruction was contained to this one area, as the consequences could have been far more catastrophic. The sheer scale of the obliteration made it seem like the devastation had occurred in an instant. Reflecting on the battle's outcome, he is astonished that Dangu was defeated so quickly that the destruction barely had time to spread. Back in the dungeon, Jinwoo realizes he has exhausted his food supply, signaling that his progress must halt for now. He has reached floor 475, with only 25 more remaining, though the journey ahead remains arduous. The rewards, however, have been substantial. From a skeletal adversary, he obtained a powerful necklace, while from a beast guarding the 50th floor, he claimed an enchanted earring. Both artifacts possess formidable abilities on their own, but when worn together, they grant a set bonus that enhances all attributes by 5 points. Spotting an empty slot in the set, Jinwoo deduces that another powerful enemy remains, one final boss yet to be slain. Jinwoo acquires a unique artifact known as the Sphere of Avarice. While it doesn't directly enhance his own abilities, it significantly amplifies the firepower of his magic soldiers, making it an essential addition to his arsenal. His latest reward also includes an opportunity to unlock a mysterious cursed loot box. Having feared he might never get another chance, he's relieved to find a second key inside. However, the key lacks any instructions, leaving him uncertain about when or where it should be used. For now, his focus remains on gathering the final ingredient for the elixir of life. He already possesses the World Tree Fragment from Vulcan and the spring water from Echo Forest, obtained after a hard-fought battle. However, these are only 2 of the 3 necessary components needed to save his ailing mother. Determined to complete his mission, he vows to return to the dungeon and finish what he started. Upon exiting the instance, he reflects on his recent progress and acknowledges that the last item he needs is the purified blood of a formidable entity. Understanding the difficulty of obtaining it, he resolves to prepare thoroughly before making his move. Reviewing his stats, Jinwoo notices a significant increase in his level following his recent battles. However, despite his growing power, he remains classified as an E-rank hunter. This status restricts his ability to participate in high-level raids, leading him to decide that it's time to reveal his true strength. With that goal in mind, he prepares for an official reassessment. The following day, Jinwoo arrives at the evaluation center. Coincidentally, a well-known recruiter is also there, scouting for potential new members. Casually observing the candidates, he immediately recognizes Jinwoo and contacts his superior to report the unexpected appearance. Upon receiving the news, his superior rushes to the center without hesitation. Meanwhile, as Jinwoo waits for his turn, he overhears a conversation between two other hunters. One of them appears nervous, revealing that he needs to secure a decent rank to provide for his struggling family. His companion reassures him, pointing out recruiters eager to sign those ranked above EU. Hearing this, Jinwoo reflects on the harsh reality of low-ranked hunters and the struggles they face. Moments later, his name is called for the assessment. The examiner assumes he is familiar with the process and instructs him to place his hand on the testing device. However, as soon as he complies, an unexpected issue arises. An error message appears on the machine. The examiner resets it and asks him to try again, yet the same result occurs. Confused, she calls for assistance. A senior official arrives, assessing the situation and suspecting a malfunction. However, after conducting the test himself, he realizes the truth: Jinwoo's power has exceeded the machine's capabilities. Stunned, they come to the shocking conclusion that the device is simply incapable of measuring his strength. The examiner quickly connects the dots. Jinwoo has officially become the nation's 10th S-rank hunter. Meanwhile, outside the evaluation center, Mr. Choi approaches Janelle, inquiring about the status of the winged ant investigation. Janelle explains that the investigative team has performed an autopsy and is currently comparing this sample with past cases, but they need more time to draw conclusions. Acknowledging this, Mr. Choi shifts the conversation to the recent Red Gate incident, mentioning how the White Tiger Guild allowed an outsider to participate in the raid and even let him defeat the boss. Curious, he asks Guile if he knows the man's identity. Janelle admits he doesn't, revealing that while he was there, he left before the battle concluded. Mr. Choi appears dissatisfied with this answer but is soon distracted by a commotion inside the center. Deciding to check it out, they both head inside and arrive just in time to see the aftermath of Jinwoo's failed rank reassessment. The room is abuzz with discussions about how the machine was unable to measure his power. The examiner informs Jinwoo that a new evaluation will be scheduled in 3 days, requiring special equipment as the standard device proved insufficient. Meanwhile, from a distance, Keitel observes the scene, realizing that Jinwoo is precisely what Seang predicted. Seeing an opportunity, he prepares to approach Jinwoo to speak with him, only for Mr. Choi and Janelle to enter the room. Jinwoo immediately recognizes Mr. Choi, widely known as the nation's top fire mage. Mr. Choi, sensing the immense aura radiating from Jinwoo, quickly deduces that he must be the cause of the commotion. Seeing a potential recruit, Mr. Choi steps forward to introduce himself, but to everyone's surprise, Jinwoo casually walks past him without acknowledging his presence. The room falls silent at this unexpected slight. Confused, Mr. Choi turns to Janelle, asking if he had failed to make the proper introduction, but Janelle assures him he did. Jinwoo simply ignored it. Before anyone can react further, they realize Jinwoo has disappeared, leading to speculation that he must possess stealth abilities. Moments later, Vic arrives at the center, breathless from rushing over. Seeing his urgency, Mr. Choi quickly puts the pieces together. Jinwoo must be the hunter who cleared the Red Gate. This realization confirms his growing belief that Jinwoo is on a completely different level. Deciding not to press the issue for now, Mr. Choi leaves, while Vic remains in stunned silence, troubled that of all people, Mr. Choi was the one to uncover this truth. That night, Jinwoo sits beside his mother's hospital bed, quietly watching over her before stepping out of the room. Before leaving, he softly tells her to wait for him just a little longer. Outside, he unexpectedly runs into Guile, who greets him with an admission: Jinwoo has completely changed his perspective. Guile explains that his role in the surveillance division is to monitor hunters and ensure those who break the law are brought to justice. Until now, he had always trusted his judgment, but Jinwoo shattered that certainty. As Jinwoo heads for the exit, he asks if he's under surveillance as well. Guile reassures him that they are not monitoring him as a criminal, but remarks that even the surveillance division has no control over S-rank hunters. Jinwoo gives a brief nod and continues walking, but before he can leave, Guile stops him with a final remark: there is someone who wants to meet him. Shortly after, Goni, the chairman of the Hunter Association, arrives on the scene. He introduces himself and invites Jinwoo for a casual yet important discussion. His tone is warm as he congratulates Jinwoo on officially attaining S-rank status. Jinwoo, visibly puzzled, prompts Goni to elaborate. With a knowing smile, Goni clarifies that the reassessment was merely a procedural step. The moment the measuring device failed to gauge Jinwoo's abilities, his S-rank status was already certain. Curious, Jinwoo questions why the reassessment was necessary if his rank was predetermined. Goni responds that it gave the association a strategic advantage, a brief window to approach Jinwoo before others could. Expanding on this, Goni explains that while the association oversees countless hunters, only a handful reach true excellence. Many elite hunters opt to join guilds, chasing wealth or prestige. He points out that even Guile, one of their strongest, holds only an A rank, leaving the association in desperate need of someone stronger. Without hesitation, Goni offers Jinwoo a top-tier role within the association. He reveals a stark truth: the government no longer holds true authority. Instead, the hunters shape the nation's power structure. At the center of this shifting dynamic are 5 dominant guilds, each maintaining a fragile equilibrium. If Jinwoo were to join any one of them, that balance would collapse. Instead, Goni proposes an alternative. Jinwoo should align with the association and elevate it into a new, 6th force, one powerful enough to counter the guilds. With interest peaked, Jinwoo carefully considers the offer. Observing Goni, Jinwoo takes note of his formidable presence. As the first S-rank hunter in the nation, Goni exudes an intimidating aura. Despite his advanced age of over 80, his sheer power remains evident. Though he no longer participates in active combat, his strength still commands respect. Jinwoo acknowledges that accepting the offer could change his path entirely, but in the end, he declines. Goni initially assumes that, like many others, Jinwoo is prioritizing financial gain. However, Jinwoo surprises him with a different reasoning. His true passion lies in combat. He expresses that dungeons are where he feels most alive. Hearing this, Goni experiences a rare thrill, a sensation he has not felt in years. With a hint of nostalgia, he muses that had he been younger, he would have relished the chance to fight alongside someone like Jinwoo. Realizing that Jinwoo's mind is set, Goni refrains from pressing further. Jinwoo expresses his gratitude for the offer before departing. As he walks away, Goni reflects on his own limitations. Even the most advanced S-rank healers cannot reverse aging, leaving him bound to a body past its prime. Accepting this reality, he instructs his assistant to clear his schedule for the day. Meanwhile, Jinwoo shifts his focus to the challenges ahead. His top priority is growing stronger as fast as possible. His mother's life depends on it. Determined, he presses forward with no time to waste. Across the ocean in the United States, Donggu regains consciousness in a hospital bed, his body still recovering from his recent battle. The deputy director arrives, seeking clarification on a critical matter. He asks whether Elon Andang is truly a magical beast. Without hesitation, Donggu confirms, whatever power Elon wielded, it was beyond human capabilities. Satisfied with this confirmation, the deputy director prepares to leave. However, Donggu stops him, demanding to know what measures are being taken against Elon. The deputy director explains that while they are monitoring him, success is uncertain. After all, Elon defeated Donggu, one of their strongest. Left alone, Donggu recalls the chilling moment of his defeat when Elon warned him to stay away from his family or suffer unrelenting vengeance. Even in death, there would be no escape. Fueled by rage and humiliation, Donggu resolves to prepare for a rematch, realizing that he needs a powerful artifact to stand a chance. It is explained that artifacts in this world are man-made relics of immense power, highly sought after by hunters. Even the most skilled craftsmen struggle to create them. Meanwhile, Jinwoo browses through artifacts on an online auction, but nothing catches his eye. Everything of value is absurdly expensive. He knows he must be fully prepared before tackling the demon-infested fortress. He inspects the Sphere of Avarice, which doubles magical damage. While some market items can boost magic power by 20 to 30%, nothing else outright doubles it. He realizes that selling the sphere could bring in an enormous sum, but its origins would be questioned, especially since he is only ranked E. If he had records of clearing high-level raids, selling it would be easier. However, as an E-rank hunter, joining such raids is forbidden. Just then, his search leads him to a job listing from the Hunter Guild. They are hiring miners for a large-scale expedition, with no rank restrictions. Meanwhile, GY reviews Jinwoo's file, noticing how drastically he has changed in just 4 months. Suspicious, he wonders if Jinwoo is a false ranker. However, Jinel assures him otherwise, explaining that Jinwoo sustained multiple injuries while struggling through low-level dungeons. He further reveals that Jinwoo became a hunter to support his sick mother and fund his sister's education. GY, impressed by his dedication, learns that Jinwoo recently joined the guild's raid mission. GY assumes the sign-up bonus tempted him, but Jinel corrects him. Jinwoo joined as a miner, not part of the combat team. GY is puzzled, unable to determine Jinwoo's true intentions. At the gate site, Jinwoo is accepted as a miner due to his sheer strength, which rivals even combat-type hunters. He learns that large-scale gates, such as rank A ones, require multiple teams: the assault team for combat, the mining team for mana stone extraction, and the recovery team for collecting monster remains. With so many roles, the rewards are considerable. Inside the dungeon, the guild master, Mr. Cho, battles monsters solo, incinerating them with his powerful fire magic while the tanks shield the team from the flames. The creatures are burned to ash as Mr. Cho presses forward, effortlessly hunting down the rest. Shortly after, the assault team exits the dungeon. Observing them, Jinwoo assumes they left only the boss alive to keep the gate open. He realizes how powerful Mr. Cho must be to clear a rank A gate without difficulty. The miners then gossip about the Hunter Guild's second-in-command as she steps out of the gate, Chaha. Jinwoo immediately senses her overwhelming presence. For a brief moment, she seems to pick up on his aura before the sensation fades. She wonders if it was just her imagination. Jinwoo, impressed by her sharp instincts, shifts his focus back to his task. The miners step through the gate, swiftly beginning their extraction of mana stones. While most are focused on their work, Jinwoo's curiosity drifts toward the dungeon's boss, wishing he could catch a glimpse of it at least once. He overhears whispers among the miners about his E rank, but dismisses their chatter as nothing out of the ordinary. As he starts working, his sheer physical strength draws attention, causing some to question whether he truly belongs in the lowest rank. After some time, the leader announces a break, prompting the miners to exit the dungeon. However, Jinwoo chooses to stay behind, determined to finish his section first. The leader offers him a chance to join them, but he declines, prioritizing his task. Once the others have left, a sharp glint appears in his eyes. This is his opportunity to sneak a peek at the boss. Without hesitation, he dashes toward the boss chamber, wondering how powerful the creature inside might be. He knows engaging it would be disastrous for the guild, yet he can't suppress the thrill rising within him. Summoning his dagger, he cautiously approaches, preparing to step inside, only to be abruptly halted. A sharp voice cuts through the stillness, demanding to know what he's doing there. Jinwoo curses himself for being careless. Turning to face the speaker, he finds Cha Han, her piercing gaze locked onto him. Quickly composing himself, he claims he lost his way and accidentally wandered too far. She immediately questions if he's from the mining team and informs him in no uncertain terms that he's standing before the boss's chamber, ordering him to retreat. Cha Han's eyes flick toward his hand, but the dagger she had glimpsed earlier is no longer there, making her wonder if she had imagined it. Jinwoo apologizes for straying off course, his tone tinged with regret, but she sternly instructs him to leave before he disturbs the boss. As he moves past her, something catches her attention. She abruptly orders him to stop and takes a deep breath, her expression shifting slightly. Instead of the usual overwhelming stench most hunters carry, he barely has a scent at all. Confused, she asks if he's truly a hunter, and upon confirming his E-rank status, she brushes off her suspicion but warns him to be careful. As Jinwoo departs, she finds herself wondering why he doesn't reek like the others. A brief thought crosses her mind, his scent is surprisingly pleasant. Afterward, Jinwoo rejoins his mining team following his break, while his fellow miners quietly express their jealousy. They mention how lucky he was to have encountered Cha Han, as they usually can only admire her from afar. They explain how she constantly patrols the dungeon, sacrificing her rest to ensure their safety from the boss. With a mix of admiration and contemplation, Jinwoo realizes that's why she had been near the chamber. The mining boss casually mentions that she tends to avoid the scent of other hunters due to her unique condition, which is why she always covers her nose. Jinwoo processes this information, recalling how her reaction to him was different. He wonders if that means he lacks the typical hunter scent. The memory of the Red Gate's boss making a similar remark resurfaces, sparking his curiosity. If he isn't like other hunters, then what exactly does it mean to be a player? The answer remains frustratingly out of reach. After wrapping up the mining operation, he collects his payment, and the site supervisor expresses his gratitude, noting how much faster they completed the job thanks to his efforts. The other miners observe that he seems to have a natural talent for the work, while the supervisor admits that he's never met anyone quite like him before. He then extends an offer for steady employment, promising fair wages, but Jinwoo declines, stating it was just a one-time thing. Though disappointed, the supervisor still asks for his help for another day, explaining that they have back-to-back A and C rank assignments lined up. Jinwoo considers it, aware that his reassessment test is coming up soon, but after experiencing the process firsthand today, he feels much more prepared. However, he's caught off guard by the revelation that the Hunters Guild schedules raids in rapid succession, even handling 2 in a single day. The supervisor explains that a second assault team is responsible for these missions, leaving Jinwoo impressed. With newfound excitement, he agrees to return the next day. Pleased, the supervisor promises to discuss increasing his pay with upper management. Jinwoo tries to brush it off, but the supervisor remains insistent. That night, we see Cha making a call, instructing someone to investigate Jinwoo's involvement with the mining team. The person on the other end already knows about him, explaining that they had previously been assigned the same task by Mr. Choi. However, any further details are classified, as all records on Jinwoo have been sealed by the Hunter Association. This strikes them as unusual, since such restrictions are typically reserved for top-tier hunters. Before they can elaborate, Cha abruptly ends the call. Later, as she lies in bed, she reflects on the situation, finding it strange that, out of all the hunters she's encountered, Jinwoo is the first who has an oddly pleasant presence. The next morning, Jinwoo arrives at the gate site, receiving a warm welcome from the crew. The atmosphere reminds him of his early hunting days, bringing a slight smile to his face. The team begins the day's operations with the C-rank gate, where Jinwoo mines mana stones with remarkable efficiency. Once the work is completed, he joins the others for a meal, and the supervisor praises him again, claiming they only managed to finish early and enjoy a lunch break because of his contributions. He even makes another offer, increasing Jinwoo's pay 5-fold if he stays on. However, Jinwoo firmly declines. Soon after, Sun Kiam, the captain of the second assault team, arrives, requesting assistance from the mining crew since their assigned porter failed to show up. The supervisor suggests asking the recovery team instead, but Kiam counters that they're already short-staffed, visibly irritating the supervisor. To sweeten the deal, Kiam offers extra hazard pay for anyone willing to step in, but the supervisor refuses, insisting that lower-ranked hunters like them shouldn't be handling equipment in high-risk A-rank dungeons. No amount of money could justify the danger. Despite the warnings, Kiam makes one last attempt, asking if anyone is interested in stepping up. Without hesitation, Jinwoo volunteers. The supervisor tries to dissuade him, but Jinwoo confidently reassures him that he can handle it. The others protest, warning Kiam that Jinwoo is inexperienced, but Kiam simply asks for his rank. Upon hearing that Jinwoo is an E rank, Kiam sees no issue and allows him to tag along. As they head toward the gate, Jinwoo can't help but notice that this one is much larger than the one he saw the day before. Ken remarks that while this gate appears larger, its magical presence feels weaker compared to the previous ones, reassuring himself that it shouldn't pose a serious threat. After all, the second squad wouldn't have been assigned to it otherwise. Jin soon notices that the team consists of 6 A-rank hunters and 3 B-rank hunters, still forming a formidable assault force even without an S-rank member. As they proceed inside, Jin reflects that the energy within the dungeon seems less intense than before, but he can't shake the unsettling aura, reminiscent of a past disaster. The team's leader advises him to stay calm, confident that their group's strength ensures a smooth operation as long as they work together. Meanwhile, Kei is eager for the mission's conclusion, believing it will cement his promotion to team captain. Even if he isn't as powerful as the current captain or vice captain, he's determined to prove himself. Just as they press forward, they detect movement ahead and swiftly prepare for battle. A pack of dungeon jackals emerges, but these creatures prove to be no real threat as the hunters eliminate them effortlessly. However, their presence surprises the team. Jin questions their rarity, prompting the healer to explain that they are typically C-rank monsters. It's unusual to find them in an A-rank dungeon since weaker creatures usually fall prey to stronger ones. Jin then spots something odd, collars on the jackals, suggesting they were raised and trained as hunting animals by someone. Before they can investigate further, an army of high orcs charges at them. One of the creatures hurls a spear, forcing Undersk to block the powerful strike just in time. The team's tank quickly deploys a taunt skill, but the orcs ignore it, targeting the hunters at the rear instead. One of them retaliates, but their attacks barely scratch the orcs, which seem highly resistant to magic. The team's mage attempts to immobilize one of the orcs, but struggles against its sheer strength, prompting the fire mage to summon 2 flame soldiers for backup. While the summoned warriors clash with the orcs, the rest of the hunters engage in a desperate fight. Despite their efforts, the orcs manage to wound the team's martial artist, prompting a call for healing, though the healer is already focused on keeping the tank alive. Ken realizes they are severely outnumbered, growing anxious that their situation could turn fatal. His fears intensify as an orc severs one hunter's arm. Cahoon silently prays that they can get through this without losing anyone, and to his relief, the healer steps up, fully regenerating the missing limb while the bespectacled mage struggles to keep the enemy at bay. Suddenly, an orc sneaks up behind the healer, and she braces for the worst, until Jin intervenes, using his ruler's hand to tear out the orc's spine in an instant. The healer stands in shock, trying to process what just happened, while Jin, using his stealth ability, continues covertly assisting his teammates, attacking from the shadows to weaken their enemies without drawing attention. The hunters notice the orcs faltering unexpectedly but seize the moment, launching an all-out assault that rapidly turns the tide. One by one, they eliminate the remaining enemies. Jin, meanwhile, remains determined not to stand out too much. His only priority is ensuring no one dies on his watch. As the last of the orcs fall, Kibbo checks in with the squad, relieved to find that everyone has made it through alive. The healer notes that something unusual happened during the battle, and Kiam adds that he also felt the creatures weaken all at once. Suspicious, he asks the mags if they had anything to do with it, but they deny involvement, stating that such an effect would be impossible without an assassin-class hunter. Rather than dwelling on it, they assume luck was on their side since they emerged victorious. Meanwhile, the bespectacled mage silently reflects, realizing their porter misjudged the team. He should have known that a stealth technique wouldn't go unnoticed with a magic caster present. Choosing to stay quiet, she assumes he has his reasons and feels indebted to him for aiding their survival. The group then turns to their captain, asking if they should advance or withdraw. They argue that handling a dungeon like this would require at least 2 more healers and 3 additional mags, strongly suggesting a retreat. Their leader takes a moment to consider, aware of the risks involved, while Jimu hopes the right decision will be made. In the end, the captain opts to fall back, bringing a sense of relief to the team. However, as they approach the exit, they discover the gateway is now blocked by a magical barrier, something that wasn't there when they first entered. The mags step up to remove it, relieved by their earlier decision to retreat, as this dungeon clearly harbors a being capable of high-level magic. Almost instantly, a surge of intense energy fills the air, prompting concerns that they may be facing the dungeon's true master. As the mags rush to dispel the barrier, Jainu wonders why this massive energy signature wasn't detected beforehand. Surely even a B-rank hunter should have sensed it. Just then, the mags begin bleeding profusely, revealing that the barrier was laced with a hidden curse. The captain immediately orders someone to use divine magic, but before he gets a response, he turns around, only to see a massive horde of orcs looming behind them. Roughly 50 of them stand ready, as the leaders of both groups step forward. Meeting halfway, the orc leader attempts to speak, but his words are incomprehensible until an orc shaman takes over his body, addressing the hunters in fluent human language. Introducing himself as Carolyn, the shaman declares that he has been waiting for them. Kovam questions whether Carolyn was responsible for sealing the exit, and the shaman confirms it. Curious, Kunun asks if anyone stronger exists within this dungeon, but Carolyn denies it and presents a challenge: either face him directly or be slaughtered by his warriors. Without hesitation, Ken steps forward, prepared to meet the shaman head-on. The orcs take the lead, but before moving forward, Kum quietly shares their plan with Jin Woo. As soon as they reach the boss's chamber, they'll launch a surprise attack to momentarily disrupt the barrier. That brief window will be Jin Woo's chance to escape and alert the other assault team. Despite the urgency, Jin Woo can't shake the feeling that they're walking into a death trap. Kyun, however, reminds him that their goal is to shut the gate. Returning alive is secondary. The team's healer hands Jin Woo a short letter, asking him to deliver it to her family if things take a turn for the worse. He accepts it with a heavy heart, hoping it won't come to that. She urges him to focus on escaping while they carry out the mission. The grim situation reminds Jin Woo of the double dungeon incident, yet these hunters feel vastly different from those he encountered before. Meanwhile, outside the gate, CHA searches anxiously for Jin Woo, wondering if he might have abandoned the team. When she questions the mining crew, she learns that he entered the gate as a porter. Inside, Jin Woo and the group finally reach a grand throne room, where they are met by Cardlan and an enormous, intimidating army of orcs. At the same time, CHA continues to puzzle over Jin Woo's actions. Why would he enter as a porter when he only has one life to protect? She recalls seeing him the previous day, standing in front of a boss chamber with a weapon, which now strikes her as suspicious. She then informs the mining leader that she intends to enter the gate to investigate. When she asks if they have any weapons, he hands her a pickaxe, admitting they don't have anything better. Though she initially considers going in empty-handed, he questions whether she can fight without a weapon. Reluctantly, she takes the pickaxe with her. Back inside the dungeon, the hunters stand frozen, overwhelmed by the sheer number of high-level orcs. If even a fraction of them escaped, entire cities could be wiped out. Among the horde, four generals stand out as even more formidable than the rest. The boss commands silence, and the orcs instantly obey. Kin quickly deduces that their only way to close the gate is by defeating the dungeon boss. Then, in a tense moment, the boss removes his mask, and an overwhelming magical presence floods the room. The hunters are paralyzed with fear, feeling utterly insignificant in his presence. Summoning his courage, Kyun steps forward and demands to know why they have been gathered here. The boss coldly declares that they are nothing more than a source of amusement for him, vowing to eliminate them one by one as part of his grand spectacle. Kay and his allies are stricken with despair upon hearing this, unable to accept that their struggle is seen as mere entertainment. He dismisses them as disposable tools to be discarded at will. Meanwhile, spotting Jin Woo among the group, the leader senses something unusual about him. Undeterred, Kik rushes forward to attack, commanding his comrades to follow, only to find that fear has paralyzed them all. Refusing to hesitate, he launches an assault on his own, but the leader effortlessly counters his magical defenses. Unleashing immense gravitational force, the leader slams Ki-hoon against the ground before hurling him against the ceiling repeatedly like a ragdoll. His comrades can only watch in horror as Ki-hoon suffers, but before the worst can happen, Jin Woo intervenes, catching him gently and setting him down. Though Jin Woo knows this mission is meant for the Hunters Guild, he cannot stand by while the team faces annihilation. At that moment, an orc charges at him, but he halts its advance effortlessly before destroying it using his ruler-like power. Turning to Ki-hoon, he coolly inquires if he can take over dealing with the magical creatures in the area, to which Ki-hoon, having no other option, readily agrees. Observing all this, the leader regards Ki-hoon's resistance as nothing more than arrogant defiance fueled by sheer magic. Meanwhile, Jin Woo acknowledges that this is the first time he has encountered such immense power. Even though fate positions them as enemies, he resolves himself grimly and summons his shadow army, prepared to put an end to the leader's reign. Outside the dungeon, the surveillance team, led by Jinul, gathers near the entrance. The miners murmur in confusion about the unexpected presence of the hunters, and Jinul himself wonders aloud why Jin Woo has been working as a miner for the past 2 days. When the mining foreman asks what's happening, Guile presses for information about Jin Woo's whereabouts. At that moment, a disgruntled miner, who had long harbored suspicions about Jin Woo's actions, steps forward to voice his concerns. Ignoring the miner's grumblings, Jinul asks the foreman to confirm Jin Woo's last known location. He quickly learns that Jin Woo had entered the dungeon under the guise of a porter. Jinul puzzles over how Jin Woo first appeared as a miner, only to change roles, noting that now that Jin Woo has reached an elite rank, every move he makes is closely monitored. He remarks that Jin Woo should at least be more mindful of his actions. Still confused, the mining foreman asks what's truly going on, but Jinul tells him to wait until tomorrow's reports for answers. As he steps closer to the gate, the foreman reveals that Char had asked similar questions before entering the dungeon herself not long ago. Before Jinul can inquire further, he suddenly senses an unusual energy radiating from within the gate. Without hesitation, he orders his team to conduct another magical power analysis. Meanwhile, inside the dungeon, Char is stunned by the overwhelming number of high-ranking orcs that have been slaughtered. Struggling to grasp how Ki-hoon's group managed such a feat, she hastens toward the boss room, especially after sensing the terrifying surge of magical energy. The scene shifts to the enemy leader mocking Jin Woo for daring to challenge his forces with such a small number. In response, Jin Woo unleashes his newfound ability, Monarch's Domain, greatly amplifying the strength of his shadow army. He explains that this is his latest skill, significantly enhancing his summoned warriors, a power he attained after his previous battle at Gan's castle. Meanwhile, the other hunters watch in complete bewilderment as the High Orcs charge at Jin Woo's forces. His elite soldiers prove so deadly that they carve through the orcs effortlessly, as if simply clearing pests. While Jin Woo aids in cutting down enemies, the hunters notice that his combat movements resemble those of Char. They remain puzzled as to why someone of his caliber was initially working as a mere porter. As the battle intensifies, Jin Woo realizes that his shadow soldiers are only matching the power of a B-rank hunter. The tide turns unfavorable, his troops are falling at an alarming rate, suffering 4 to 5 losses for each enemy taken down. Understanding that a prolonged battle will drain his mana reserves, Jin Woo braces for a grueling fight. Just then, the enemy leader unleashes a blazing fire spell at the shadows, taunting Jin Woo for his arrogance. However, Jin Woo remains unfazed, countering that his troops possess the uncanny ability to resurrect endlessly. Refusing to accept this challenge, the boss escalates his offensive, casting a devastating gravity spell upon Jin Woo and his army. He confidently declares that he will keep obliterating Jin Woo's forces until the latter's energy is completely depleted. Yet, despite the onslaught, Jin Woo continuously restores his troops without hesitation. Locked in this relentless cycle, Jin Woo begins to suspect that the boss is intentionally maintaining his distance, relying on ranged magic to keep the advantage. Meanwhile, the boss himself ponders how long Jin Woo can sustain this futile resistance. Outside the dungeon, a magic power assessment is completed, revealing that the dungeon's energy is dangerously close to an S-rank level. Alarmed, one of the supervising hunters immediately orders the miners to contact the head of the Hunters Guild, while the surveillance team mobilizes to reinforce the assault unit inside. Back in the dungeon, the boss sneers at Jin Woo, boasting that his command and sheer numbers vastly exceed those of the Shadow Army. Watching his forces diminish rapidly, Jin Woo quickly consumes a mana potion to restore his power. Determined, he announces that it's time to unveil his true strength as a necromancer. With a commanding motion, he resurrects all fallen High Orcs, turning them into his undead warriors. He boldly proclaims that he will add both the boss and his generals to his ever-growing army. Taken aback, the boss questions whether Jin Woo is some kind of higher being and why such an entity would even be here. He recalls that ever since he first awoke in this place, the only instinct guiding him has been to eliminate any human he encounters. Ignoring any deeper reasoning, he resolves to follow that order until the very end, unless he is forced to deploy his strongest warriors. The scene transitions to the Hunters Guild, where Mr. Choi is taken aback by the revelation that the gate's energy is approaching an S-rank threshold. He concludes that the assessment must be correct, as Gahun and his team have yet to return from the dungeon. Recognizing the looming danger of a dungeon break at this magnitude, one reminiscent of the catastrophic Jew Island event, he feels a brief sense of relief that there's still a chance to intervene. Wasting no time, Mr. Choi instructs his assistant to rally every available hunter, sending out urgent messages to all A-rank and higher hunters. He even considers enlisting aid from the White Tiger Guild and FI Healed, much to his assistant's surprise. However, Mr. Choi remains firm, emphasizing that their priority is to contain the situation before it escalates further. Meanwhile, in the boss chamber, the battle rages on as Jin Woo's general faces off against the Orc commander while his summoned forces press the attack. However, as the enemy leader watches his subordinates falter and collapse, his fury grows. Additional hunters rush forward to support Jin Woo, but the boss refuses to let them interfere, swiftly incapacitating several with his curse-infused magic. Standing tall with an air of superiority, the boss sneers, vowing to make Jin Woo regret ever opposing him. He unleashes a barrage of spells designed to induce blindness, exhaustion, and sleep, but due to Jin Woo's extraordinary resilience and endurance, they prove ineffective. Remaining unfazed, Jin Woo calmly states his immunity to such afflictions before summoning his mage units. Anticipating the assault, the boss conjures a powerful barrier to shield himself. However, the mags retaliate by launching a fireball, its power amplified by the Sphere of Avarice. The searing projectile rips through the defensive wall, striking the boss directly and fueling his growing wrath. At that moment, another hunter, Shu, bursts into the chamber, eyes widening as she surveys the chaotic battlefield. She quickly notices several down hunters, including Kun, who is being hastily treated by a healer. When she demands an explanation, the fighters exchange uncertain glances, unable to provide clear answers. Determined to turn the tide, the boss intensifies his magic, channeling immense energy to enlarge his form, transforming into a towering colossus. His intent is clear, he plans to crush Jin Woo beneath his sheer weight. However, Jin Woo effortlessly evades the enormous attacks, scoffing at the giant's arrogance. Enraged, the boss unleashes an inferno of flames, indiscriminately scorching everything in his path, both ally and foe alike. With a menacing grin, he taunts Jin Woo, questioning whether he still dares to challenge such overwhelming might. Jin Woo, undeterred, launches himself forward, driving his blade straight into the boss's eye. With a cold smirk, he remarks that by increasing his size, the boss has only made himself a larger and more exposed target. He then adds with quiet confidence that a lone magic user, without proper defense, stands no chance against an assassin-class hunter. Infuriated, the boss retaliates with another wave of fire magic, but Jin Woo seamlessly dodges each strike, countering with swift dagger attacks. However, he soon realizes that his weapon barely leaves a scratch. Understanding that brute force alone won't suffice, Jin Woo swiftly summons his ruler's hand, using it to seize a set of chains before preparing for his next decisive move. He restrains the leader and flings him across the battlefield, leaving the monstrous opponent struggling to regain his footing. Just then, Janelle arrives and, after witnessing the stunning display, remarks to Chaha that he had come to assist upon sensing a surge of overwhelming energy from outside. However, now he wonders if his help is even needed. Noticing that even the head of surveillance seems impressed by Jainu's abilities, Chaha starts to question just how powerful he truly is. She turns to Janelle and asks for his thoughts on Jinwoo, to which he simply shrugs, admitting he doesn't know much about him. Meanwhile, Jainu tells the wounded leader that his fate was sealed the moment his own warriors fell in battle. Refusing to accept defeat, the leader growls in defiance, but Jainu isn't finished yet. Calling upon the spirits of the fallen guards, he commands them to end the fight. After a brief but decisive clash, the leader is finally struck down, his eyes filled with terror as his former generals deliver the final blow. Victorious, Jainu experiences a surge of strength, ascending in power before proceeding to claim the fallen leader's very soul, an act that astonishes all present. As he completes the process, Jinwoo notes that the once defiant figure now appears far more submissive in his new form. While extracting the soul, he realizes he can assign it a name. Since the leader's true name has been lost to time, he decides to call him Fang. Upon examining Fang's essence, Jinwoo discovers an unfamiliar yet extraordinary classification, Elite Knight rank. This revelation intrigues him, as he has never encountered such a title before. Meanwhile, he acknowledges that the High Orcs proved to be a major gain just as Guile steps forward. Up until now, Jainu had been too focused on the soul extraction to notice Guile's arrival. As other hunters begin demanding an explanation for what just happened, Guile's team intervenes, asserting that Jainu's abilities are classified information within the association. They order everyone to keep the events of the day confidential, explaining that Jinwoo only revealed such power to protect them. With that, Guile and his team escort Jinwoo away, but before leaving, Kunun and his allies express their heartfelt gratitude. Jinwoo, in turn, returns the healer's will to her. As Jinwoo departs, CH attempts to catch up to speak with him, but a spectacled mage interjects, questioning why she's carrying a pickaxe. Chaha hesitates, worried about how she might be perceived. When asked who she is referring to, she shyly dismisses it as nothing. Later, Mr. Choi receives a report on the incident and is left stunned by the vast array of abilities Jainu has displayed. He ponders who could even rival Jinwoo's strength, noting that while most raid teams depend on teamwork, Jainu defies that convention by fighting alone. Kuan then challenges Mr. Choi, questioning whether he truly believes Jinwoo could single-handedly conquer the most treacherous dungeons. With a wry smile, Mr. Choi admits he has his doubts, suggesting that his own title of Ultimate Hunter may now be nothing more than an outdated claim. As he leaves, Cahoon stresses the importance of recruiting Jinwoo, to which Mr. Choi agrees, vowing to do his best. Meanwhile, Jainu meets with Leo to discuss the outcome of his meeting with the guild master. Leo provides an update, and the scene shifts to the Hunter Association. There, a renowned actor, Lee Min-sung, has just awakened his latent abilities as a hunter. Swarmed by the press, he basks in the overwhelming attention, believing himself to be the center of the world, reveling in his newfound fame.